Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar, which is being presented by Syed Jaffar Hussain and is on upgrading to Oracle 11G R2. So as I mentioned, the main presenter today is Syed Jaffar Hussain, who's an Oracle ACE Director, Oracle Magazine Editor's Choice Award 2011 for Technologist of the Year, DBA, and he is the DBA support team lead at In My Bank. I'm James Mercer, and I'm the creator and editor of all things Oracle.com and the Oracle Tools Product Marketing Manager at Redgate Software. Before we start, everybody will be on mute for the duration of the webinar. If at any time that you cannot hear us, please check your speakers and the GoToWebinar audio settings first. And if you type in your questions box, and also send us some comments, we will get to all the questions at the end of the session. So as you come across things that Syed's talking about, please feel free to ask us a question. I do apologise for the slides keep moving forward a bit quicker than I'm talking. Something I did try and rectify before we started, but obviously I haven't done it correctly. But there will be a full recording of this webinar after the session. You better find it on the Redgate website, and if you subscribe to the All Things Oracle newsletter, we will send details of this recording and other webinars in the next edition. So today's agenda, I'm going to have a quick introduction to Redgate software before I hand over to Syed Jaffar Hussain for the main part of this presentation. We'll finish off with a Q&A with Syed. So as I mentioned, please do type your questions into the questions panel as we go throughout the presentation. And there'll be some contact details for both myself and Syed at the end of the presentation. Okay, so a little bit about Redgate software. It's probably going to jump on before I finish this. A few of you may have already come to some of our webinar sessions, so you may know a little bit about us. We were founded about 13 years ago. We're based in Cambridge in the UK, and we're an Oracle Gold partner. Redgate has predominantly been involved with database development and administration, and we are regarded as the gold standard across the SQL Server world. And it's this experience that has led us to create some tools for the Oracle's database as well. Our main set of tools is the deployment suite for Oracle. As a company, we have a strong focus on education and support, and I think one of the reasons that our tools have really gone down well with database developers and administrators across the world is because we really do listen to the community. We produce resources that not only help the community using our tools, but of course we ourselves learn from things like the webinars and articles and stuff like that. So we really make sure that our tools help you, and we provide as much support as we possibly can to help you in your daily work. Some of the examples of stuff that I'm doing is all things Oracle.com. These regular webinar sessions, if you go to the website where you found out information about this session, you'll be able to see upcoming webinars. We've got a free ebook giveaway at the moment, which is Oracle Essentials 4th edition in PDF. It's the full ebook, so I recommend you go to the Redgate website after this session if you haven't already downloaded that ebook. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Syed now, who's going to do the main part of the presentation, and also introduce himself and so if you could just bear with me whilst we hand over. Okay, Syed, you should be taking control of the screen now.
is the cursor?
Can you see the console? There should be a little pop-up message saying that you're now the presenter. If you could just bear with us, everybody, please.
No, I haven't seen that yet. Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So we are good to go?
Yep, please, yep, you can start the main part of the presentation.
Thank you, James, for giving this opportunity. Hello and hi. Welcome, everyone. A very good evening. Myself, Syed Jaffar Hussain, joining you live from Riyadh for this presentation. Before I talk more about upgrade and get you more on this, let me tell you it's going to be a bit long webinar compared to other webinars, as we are going to cover in detail about upgrade process, cluster and databases. Alright. Okay, let me ask you a very straight question. How many times do you have come across of this question in your mind as a DBA? Do I actually need to care about upgrading my existing environment to Oracle latest release to RaceWeek? Is it mandatory? I'm sure as a DBA you might have come across of this question several times. So sometimes you might find a very wise reason to do upgrade, and sometimes you may not find a very wise reason to do so. And another question, does it really matter which version of Oracle do we use? Yes, it does matter, but it again depends. So all these questions that I have just asked is going to answer in my presentation, which is upgrading to Oracle 11G Release 2. It's a case study basically of our 4 Oracle environments upgrade that we have done for the last 6 to 8 months. I'm going to share all the experience that we had it when we did this project successfully. I'm going to share all the tips, techniques, and the problems that we have come across and how we managed to resolve them. I would really like to tell you it was really a roller coaster journey. We had a successful upgrade, we had a successful downgrade for our cluster, then we did deinstall the GI home before we start over, and we did manual upgrade to our databases. We had almost 200 databases to upgrade, including production and non-production. And sometimes we encourage to do things out of the box options. The main objective of this presentation, as I said a while ago, is I'm going to share all my best practices that we adopted at our environment to successfully finish 4 clustered environment with over 200 databases to 11G Release 2 on HP Superdome servers. In a nutshell, this is what I'm going to cover in my today's presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about why do we need to upgrade, what are those situations that drives us to do an upgrade, or what are those situations that likely stops us doing the upgrade. And also most importantly, we discuss the compatibility matrix from the current version to the 11G Release 2. Also upgrade pattern, overview about our environment, and then preparing to upgrade, which will followed by cluster and ASM upgrades. I will show you how to upgrade database and what are those methods that are available and what are the things that we need to make sure post upgrades, and I'm going to share some of the stories that we come across after our upgrade. Here is a little introductory slide about myself. As you see, I have over 20 years of IT experience, and I have been Oracle DBA past 12 years, and I'm an ACE Director, Oracle Certified Master, and I have got some other Oracle certifications. And also I wrote a book along with Ben Puriskin a year ago. And I'm really honored and privileged to receive the Best DBA of the Year by Oracle Magazine for 2011. And if you have access to Oracle Magazine, you can read my profile that was published in February 2012 Oracle Magazine. Okay, let me start my presentation now. I just would like to repeat the same question that I had it in very beginning. Do we really need to care which version of Oracle we use? And the most and very burning question in everybody's mind whenever Oracle releases a new version is it mandatory to upgrade an existing environment? This is the question that you seek advice, and sometimes you fail and sometimes you may get those answers. So when I say is it really mandatory to do an upgrade, and there is no straightforward answer, I would say yes and no, it depends. So let me tell you what are those situations that contributes you to oppose an upgrade. I'm sure this list is not just going to be the final list. Maybe there could be other factors that could stop you doing an upgrade, but from my experience perspective, I found these 3 points are the major contributors for someone to say, hey, I'm not going to upgrade my version. So first thing is legacy application. I'm sure you might be facing this problem in one of your environment where you have a very legacy application where the application vendor tells you, come on guys, our application doesn't support 11G release 2, or our application doesn't support release 1. So you are stuck because this version, sometimes it will be very difficult for you to change the whole application because this application may be very, very old and a lot of things are depending. So sometimes you are forced because of your legacy application behavior to stop your upgrade. And second point is doesn't want to take the risk. In the sense, we have a saying, all is well. As long as everything is running smoothly, why the hell I go and disturb my things? So some people will say, okay, things are going smoothly. What I'm going to gain if I'm going to upgrade? So I would rather stay on what I am now. And another thing that I have seen in my experience, past experience, lack of skills and support. Most of the DBAs, they do worry before they want to implement something new. It could be because they don't have much skills, or maybe they cannot afford the support from Oracle or from any other company to come down and do the upgrade. Okay, what are those positive points that let you say, okay, I'm going for an upgrade? I probably see these points as that let you, okay, go for the upgrade. Organization standards. I'm working for a bank, so being a banker, my company needs to be up to date with the state of the technology. So for that, we have a standard that we need to go on with the latest release. So sometimes your organization standards drives you to go for the upgrade. And second, which is the most important and most of the people maybe don't like about this policy, there are some rules and policies set by the Oracle before they go with the new release. And there will be a retention to retire the old version. So you have to go for extended support maybe for the period of a year and two and paying more bucks. So sometimes you are forced by Oracle to go with the new version. And tantalizing new features. Sometimes you are so tempted with the new features that have provided in the new release, and you feel that it is going to highly improve your performance of the application and the way things are running. And of course, the other one, the important factor is bug fixes. Maybe you might be facing a very serious bugs in your current environment, and Oracle just simply and straightforward advise you to go with the bug fixes during the upgrade. So these are the situations that say yes and no that I feel in my opinion. This could be differ in your opinion, but these are the things that I see in my experience. Okay, now let me talk about the cluster upgrade path. Let's say now we want to upgrade to 11G release 2. The left to your screen is the current version, maybe the source you could say 9i, 10G release and 11G release 1, and towards you want to upgrade to 11G release 2. If you are with 9i release 2 cluster, where you have of course no ASM and no Clusterware, and depending on the vendor Clusterware, you can do a direct upgrade to 11G release 2. If you are on 10G release 1 and on release 2, you can also do the upgrade to 11G release 2. When we talk about 10G release 1 and release 2, we have a ASM feature which manages the storage, and two possibilities, rolling upgrade and no rolling upgrade. Until 10G03, there is no rolling upgrade for ASM. However, from 10G release 2, cluster can be done, and upgrade can be done in a rolling manner. And of course, if you have 11G release 1 and you want to upgrade to 11G release 2, there is a feasibility that you can upgrade your cluster and ASM in a rolling mode. When I am saying rolling mode, means when you are applying this procedure on a particular node, the other nodes of your other members of your cluster are up and running, active. There won't be any service down time for that period. In case you plan to do your database upgrade, here is the upgrade path for you. Let's say these are your versions and you want to go to 11G release 2. So if you are going from 7.3 to 11.2 release 2, there is no direct path upgrade. You need to apply the 7.2.7.3.4 patch, then upgrade to 9.2, apply 9.2.08, then upgrade to 11G release 2. Likewise, you can follow the same pattern for Oracle 8i version and 9i. If you are on 10G, you can simply apply the patch and then directly go to the latest release. And this slide talks about the direct upgrade and indirect upgrade, which I just spoke a little while ago. Like source database 9208, you can directly go to 11202, 10105, 10202, 11206. You can directly upgrade to 11.2. However, if you have a source database of 73, 805, 817, 9013, 9207, no direct upgrade is possible. You need to go indirect way, in the sense you have to apply the patch, go to the release that supports you to direct path. Upgrade best practices. As part of Clusterware upgrade, we do the upgrade in three parts. First, we will upgrade the Clusterware, existing Clusterware and ASM, followed by a fresh installation of RDBMS software for your databases, and you will upgrade your underlying existing databases, could be 9i, 10G, 11G release 1, and then you do some post-upgrade scenario. Let me talk a little bit about my existing environment. We do have Superdome servers, HP, with Itanium 2 9000 series, and our storage is DMX4 Matrix. We do use Veritas Net Backup, and we have a Cisco switch for our interconnect. We do have 2 production and 2 non-production cluster environments, one with 8 nodes, another 6 nodes, and we do have non-production with 7 nodes and 3 nodes. These are the count of databases and instances that we have presently at our site. We have 31 production databases, some of them with single leg, single instance, and most of the business critical instances are 2 instances of a RAG database. We have 51 instances running across 8 nodes, and each node has 4 logical processors and 22 GB memory. This is the count of our existing environment. You will feel how complex environment we are into, and sometime maybe I will do a presentation about managing complex rack environment, also versus having complex and small number of node rack environments. Before we kick off our upgrade, we really need to make sure that underlying operating system, operating storage, everything is up to the date, so that our 11G release 2 is supported. So for that reason, we had to upgrade our existing operating system from 11.23 to 11.31 because Oracle 11G release only support version 11.3. I'm talking about HP Unix here. After that, there were some few parameters that we need to tweak in order to make sure our underlying EMC storage is able to see the 11G release 2 upgrade. And after that, we upgraded our cluster from 10.2 to 11.202. Preparing to upgrade. As everybody knows and agree with me, if I say preparation is the headstone to every successful installation or upgrade project. So the preparation is the key factor for any successful project, whether it is going to be a fresh installation or an upgrade project. Okay, what I would like to do if I'm going to do an upgrade. So the first and foremost thing is you need to verify your OS certification for 11G release 2 or the version that you are going to do the upgrade. You have to make sure by checking the compatibility parameter that your underlying operating system is supported for the version that you are going to upgrade. And also some parameters, kernel parameters you need to tweak in order to support your 11G upgrade. And also you might be ended up requiring some OS level packages that need to be installed. Remember, these things you need to make sure you have prepared everything before you go for the upgrade. With 11G release 2, you might require an additional OS groups like AS admin and AS different groups, and also ensure you have grid infrastructure location which is going to be different from your current cluster home. I'm going to talk about this after a little while. And most importantly, if you are with 11G, ensure you get additional IP address which is for SCAN, single client access name. This is the new requirement from 11G release 2, I guess. In addition to your 3 IP addresses for your cluster, private, public and virtual IP, you need up to maximum of 3 SCAN IPs. Unlike the other IP addresses, public, private and virtual, these 3 IPs are going to remain same across the nodes. I mean, you get a IP address, same address for all those cluster nodes. You don't need to change for every node. It's a new thing that is introduced in 11G release 2. And you can have this SCN defined, SCAN defined in a DNS Robin resolution, round robin fashion. You cannot go over 3 IPs, but you can have from 1 to 3. And also you have to remember one thing in your mind before you configure and make use of SCAN, that the SCAN IPs are on the subnet of your public and virtual IPs. Make sure you do not touch your private subnets. You might raise a question, can I use this SCAN IP in my host file? Well, Oracle says no, you should not use it. Although it will not prevent you using that, but it highly recommends not to use, not to put your IP, SCAN IPs in the host file. So as mentioned a while ago, put them in your DNS. Also, you are going to require root user access because you have to run a couple of post-upgrade scripts like root upgrade.sh and some other thing. And if you have existing clusters, ensure that you have unset the variables Oracle base, home, CRS home, CNS admin, and your or NLS. And also make sure the backup is there in place. Before you change anything to the existing Oracle software, you need to have a backup of your existing Oracle software. This is like a precautionary step. In case something goes wrong, you should be able to revert it back using that backup. So first thing is additional, okay, let me talk about the requirement. You need an additional space for Oracle software to be able to install your grid infrastructure and the 11G Release 2 RDBMS software. And also make sure you have enough temp space, somewhere around maybe 1 to 2 GB. I'm not sure, quite sure, but you can refer the Oracle upgrade installation document for 11G Release 2 for more information on this. As I talk, backup is the critical factor before you change anything to the existing Oracle binaries, whether cluster, ASM, and Oracle Home. And also make sure you back up the cluster important critical components like voting disk and OTR, voting disk and OCR disks. Before you kick off upgrade, ensure your CRS cluster software and active version are the same. If there is any problem, if there is any difference between your active version and software version, then your upgrade is not going to be a successful one. So in case if you see a different one, that indicates that maybe your earlier upgrade or maybe the installation was not proper. So ensure you fix the problem before you proceed with your upgrade procedure. Once we are done with our prerequisite, like preparing the nodes, servers with the required packages, operating system and file system and everything with the backups, now the time to check the readiness of your nodes before you start off your upgrade. If you are on pre-11G release 2, you can simply run this run club verify from the staging area of 11G release 2 software. Ensure you run this command, the first command, from the staging area of your cluster home, where you verify the pre-cluster installation by specifying the flag node list -n will indicate the nodes that you're going to do the upgrade. And there is a new flag that introduced in 11G release 2 fix-up, followed by fix-up directory flag. This indicates that if there is anything fall under the requirement and you want to generate the script in this directory so that you don't need to go individually and fix up your list that is not falling under the category that is required for the upgrade. So you can use that shell script generated under this fix directory and simply run to fix those failed components under the prerequisite category. If you are doing from 11.2.01 to 11.2.02 or higher, there is a slight change, more flags added to the run club verification utility. Now you see upgrade flag that also you can make sure, can I do my rolling upgrade by specifying -rolling flag, and also you have another flag, SCR CRS home, where you mention your existing grid home and the destination grid home. And also you need to specify the new version, the upgrade version with the test version. And of course you have the same flag fix up and fix up dir path, a slight change in the command. So if you are pre-11G release 2 and going to pre-11G to 11G release 2, use the first one. If you are going from 11G release 2 to 11G 03, then you can use the amended second command. Alright, now the time to upgrade our legacy cluster, of course, we call it as legacy. One thing you have to remember, what's new before you do the upgrade? Previously, we called as Clusterware in the pre-11G release 2. Until 11G release 1, you call it as Clusterware Home. But with 11G release 2, you now is called as a grid infrastructure. A grid infrastructure has now two components, a clusterware and automatic storage management. So clusterware and ASM come together under a single umbrella is known as grid home. So unlike pre-11G release 2, where you're going to have two different homes for your cluster and your ASM, with 11G release 2, now you are going to have just a single grid infrastructure home. Although their functionality is different, Clusterware and ASM, but they act under the same home. And also what is new in 11G release 2 is out of place upgrade. What does it mean, out of place upgrade? If you are going to do, if you are going to perform an upgrade of, from the existing clusterware, you are always going to do out of place upgrade. That means the new software is going to be installed in a new GI home. That means you are not going to disturb the existing active cluster home. This gives you two benefits. First of all, it's going to be a rolling so that the other members of the nodes are active, up and running. And secondly, in case at a given time you have two cluster homes, the old one and the new one, until you remove the old one. So any point of time you can easily roll back to your previous version. I really find this one is good one. The only problem that I see in this approach is a more space requirement. And of course, if you are going to apply some PSU patch or interim patch, it's always going to be in place upgrade, not like out of place upgrade. You might argue a question, is it necessary to upgrade Clusterware and ASM together? For example, you are going to upgrade your existing environment, you have ASM configured. And you may ask a question, is it necessary do I perform upgrade of Clusterware and ASM together? It depends how you want to do it. If you are going to do your upgrade from 10G release 2 to 11G release 2, and you are going to do your upgrade together, ASM and cluster, then no rolling upgrade. In that sense, you are going to stop the ASM instance while you perform the upgrade across all the nodes. So you need a downtime during the period of cluster upgrade. If you are on 11G release 1 and you are going with 11G release 2, and of course you can do the rolling upgrade. So since this presentation is talking about 10.2.04 to 11.2.02, so I have done no rolling upgrade. That means during the upgrade duration my cluster was unavailable, inactive. If you are going from 10.2.04 to 11.2.02, you can do the cluster upgrade in a rolling fashion, and later on you can do the ASM upgrade. But again, this ASM upgrade is not going to be the rolling one, it's going to be non-rolling. Okay, let's the action begin. From the staging area of your 11G release 2 cluster software, just initiate run installer. And once you initiate run installer, you're going to come across of this screen. And if you notice, if you haven't used 11.2 software OUI, this is going to be a new slide for you, in the sense a new design, entirely different from 11G release 1. And you have an option here. Oracle gives you an option to report your errors, and sometimes you can also download patches directly. So I'm not going to have my information connected with the Oracle, so that nothing will be updated automatically. So I'm going to skip software updates. So I choose skip software updates option. Remember, if you are going to do a fresh installation or you are going to do an upgrade, you are going to run the same command, run installer. How does Oracle cluster is going to sense it? In case if you have an existing cluster running up and running, automatically run installer is going to sense the existing clusterware and gives you this an option, upgrade Oracle infrastructure or ASM. In case if this is going to be the first fresh installation, you are not going to see this option. Since we are going to do an upgrade, this option is available. So I choose upgrade Oracle cluster along with my ASM. When I choose this option, it says, hey, I have detected ASM instance on this node. Do you want to continue? I said, yes, I want to do. and this is just a language screen quickly. After that, it will fetch the members of my cluster. So this presentation is going to show you 3 cluster upgrade of one of our cluster environment. So I see all my nodes here. In case if you see the list is not accurate, you might be missing 1 or 2 nodes. So I would say halt your presentation, sorry about this. I would say stop your upgrade, not entirely, just halt it. Make sure all your members of the cluster are up, and then you proceed with your upgrade procedure. So in my case, all my nodes are detected. I'm good to go with the upgrade. And again, it's making sure I'm going to tell you, hey, look, it's not going to be a rolling upgrade. It's going to be a no rolling upgrade. That means you're going to shut down your ASM instance, and when you stop your ASM instance, of course, you are going to shut down all your databases. So if you are ready with your downtime, then you can do it altogether. And also, you need to ensure that a scan is defined. The scan in the first block box, I have defined the scan name. This is going to be your cluster name as well. Basically, this is your cluster name, and this is the port ID that the scan is going to use across all your nodes. So you need to make sure that this scan port is available for your upgrade. If there is any conflict, you cannot go further with the upgrade. There are a few things changed. Instead of going to be sys DBA or sys ASM, you're going to ask for sys SNMP for your ASM. So provide the password so that whenever you the password that you have specified. And also now Oracle impose some constraints over your password. It has to be something, but it doesn't stop you going further. It just gives you a warning message that the password that you have mentioned just is not up to the standard. And then these are the additional groups that you have to create for ASM. So choose it, all this by default, and proceed with next. And there is a very important thing that you need to notice. Your Oracle base must be different from your Oracle software location for grid infrastructure. If you pay close attention to Oracle base directory that I have mentioned, with the directory that I am going to install my grid infrastructure software is different. If you mention Oracle base and Oracle grid infrastructure home under the Oracle base, you are going to get an error message saying that it cannot be the same. I'm really failed to understand the reason, maybe why this requirement is in place. But however, in order to get away from this, ensure you have a different software location from your Oracle base for your software location grid infrastructure. So once I'm done with my grid homes installation, now my run installer automatically going to perform the prerequisite checks. Once prerequisite checks are completed, you're going to see this message sometimes are failed and sometimes are not failed. If you see OCR integrity failed, after some investigation or Metalink have found that it is a bug on Oracle HP UX and it can be safely ignored. There are some prerequisite failures that you must address, and there are some failures that can be ignored. In my case, except the first one, the rest of the things I can easily ignore. So for that reason, I have no problem. The only thing I need to concern is OCR integrity failure, check failure. After I get confirmation from Oracle Metalink it is a bug, I can safely ignore about this. I just need to click, check the ignore all box on top of your screen and proceed with next. So if you see that circle, I have made this, okay, ignore all checks, because I'm sure it's not going to be stopped or it's not going to create any obstacle for my upgrade. Once all the prerequisites are done, this is a brief text about what it is going to be. Like it required 5 GB space for your grid infrastructure, and I have free enough space, 31 GB. And also this is the detail about my grid home basic, grid home and grid Oracle base directory, where is the source file and all the stuff. And this is a few details about what is my cluster name going to be and what is my scan name going to be. And these are my nodes, of course. So I just started my installation. So it just started the grid infrastructure installation. So after the installation progresses, it will prompt you to run root upgrade sh. So this is basically only software installation up to the point. Root upgrade sh script. Look at the instruction that you see on this window. You have to connect to another terminal. Do not close this session. Do not press OK until you successfully run this root upgrade sh across all the nodes. So from the local node from where you have kick off this upgrade, open a new terminal window, log in as a root, and run that root.upgrade sh. What this root upgrade script is going to basically do is, it is the major script that basically set up your cluster. Whatever we have done so far is just the software installation. Root upgrade sh is the script that basically set up and configure your grid infrastructure. So in the process, it's going to ask a few questions. You can just press enter, and it will wait for 16 minutes. It took around 16 minutes for me on each node. So once you see this cluster is successfully up, then you can proceed with other node. Okay, what if you are going to upgrade a large, huge cluster environment like us, like you are going to do 8 node upgrade? Do I need to run in sequence on all nodes? Is there anything feasibility that I can run my upgrade script parallelly? Yes, the answer is yes. However, there is a constraint. Always run the script on the local node, which is your first node, and once you successfully execute this script on your first node, then you can run the root upgrade script parallelly across all nodes except the last one. Let me repeat. You have to have the first run on the first node, and then you can run parallelly root upgrade sh script across node except the last one. Once the root upgrade sh is successfully run across all nodes except the last one, then individually on the last node you have to run this root.upgrade sh. Root.upgrade sh success is the most important factor for your successful upgrade. This is the one which basically configure and upgrade your cluster, and also it is going to take down the existing clusterware and bring up the latest clusterware stack. So in a nutshell, after it configure your cluster, it's going to shut down the existing cluster stack and bring up automatically the new version of your cluster stack. Upon successfully running the script on the last node, the CRS active version is going to be affected with the new version. So as I said, with my configuration on every node, the root upgrade took somewhere 16 minutes, and most of the time when I watched, it took the time to stop and start the cluster stack. You can also refer some of the logs under your grid CFG tools under this directory. You can closely watch the proceedings, what is going on, and if you come across any problem, you can do it. Okay, what if my root execution failed? Maybe on the first node, or maybe on the second node, or maybe on the last node. The good thing about the when you release to root upgrade.sh script is you can always resolve your problem and rerun the root upgrade.sh script. So how am I going to handle it? There is a good note on Oracle Metalink 969254.1, where you have the instruction for every step. For example, before you execute your root upgrade.sh, if there are any failures that come across, you can refer to the first OUI failure section, which tell you what to do. And in case if grid infrastructure root upgrade sh failure, you can refer to this section, which is going to give you what to do. In case if you are going to do standalone root upgrade, you can refer to this. So likewise, whatever step that you fail, you can always refer. So I strongly recommend you to make a note of this Metalink note, which is very useful. This is very important in case you have any plans with your upgrade. Okay, and another important factor is make sure all your members of the nodes are up and running while you do the root upgrade SSH, and it must run across all the nodes before you say yes, I have successfully upgraded my Clusterware. If for any reason, if any node or any member of the cluster is not available, then you have no successful cluster upgrade. The good thing with 11.2.02, for some reason, if a node is not reachable for your upgrade and it's going to take a long time, you don't need to wait for a long time. Simply you can use a new flag -force to force the upgrade to complete in case some of the nodes are unreachable while performing an upgrade. And make a note, this is from 11.2.02, and if you are going to upgrade from 11.2.02 to 11.2.03, then this is applicable. But if you are doing anything like pre-11G release 2 to 11G release 2 or above, this is not possible. It's not a feasible command. So you need to ensure that all members of the cluster are up and running. So once you successfully execute root upgrade.sh script across all the nodes, click on OK button. We'll proceed with the second phase, which is ASM upgrade. So far so good. However, we have come across a very strange error while it was doing ASM upgrade. It gives us a simple message, automatic storage management configuration assistant failed, and there was no much useful information. When we checked the details, there was not very much useful. I could say there was a halt to our smooth march. So we just had a halt to our smooth march. We tried for the help. Sorry about the pictures, funny pictures. Looking into the information that we got. The bad thing about some of the error messages I would like to point here is they are misleading. You might have come across of these messages. The error message that throws on your pop-up is not directly related to the message error that you actually got. If you look at this, there is not much very useful information about your ASM configuration fail. So, for example, if you are going to take this INS20802 error code and search on internet, Google, our friend, and Metalinks, and your alert log, there was no very helpful information we found. We were like kind of in a catch-22 situation. We cannot go back and we cannot go further. I know, of course, I can always contact Oracle, but just imagine how long it's going to take. And if you have a very tight upgrade window, it's going to be a big issue. So for us, we started with the non-production Clusterware. We had good downtime, so we were just only worried to fix the problem rather than worried about the downtime. We got it. So there comes a safe live savior, a small Metalink that gave us a brief information about our problem, to which we managed to solve the problem. As I said a while ago, just quickly a while ago, that the error message that comes is totally misleading. This you cannot correlate with your problem. They are definitely misleading for us at least. So it took us at least a couple of hours to come to this solution. So I just refer the log under my existing cluster home rack ASM home aura.host.asm.asm file. So where I see that my ASM instance does not have a plus symbol. Did you notice that in the bracket, in the box that I have mentioned, you see there is a plus symbol which is missing. All our ASM instances are starting with plus, prefixed with plus. So you might be thinking, what went wrong? Because it was fine, the ASM was up and running. So the problem was like the ASM upgrade was done, but the problem was like when it was bringing the ASM instance up automatically using the SRVCTL. So we figured out that the grid infrastructure is very particular about having the plus sign. So without any direct information, it just gets you failed message. So when I refer this log, I see that missing or illegal database name because my ASM name is a plus ASM. So I'm saying 11.2 R2 is very particular when it refers to the ASM instance name. So it quite seriously saying, hey, this is not the ASM instance that I'm going to looking for. So where is the plus symbol? As of now, we didn't proceed because we just kind of stuck. We cannot go back and forward. So this might be the problem. You might be thinking, okay, what might have went wrong? This could be probably due to these reasons. ASM instance name registered as ASM instead of place ASM. For example, you can add and remove ASM instance entry from the Clusterware using SRVCTL add ASM and SRVCTL remove ASM. And the good thing is, pre-11G release 2, even if you don't mention plus ASM when you add and remove, it's not going to have any troubles. And also, when you do some manual entry, like I said, SRVCTL. As I said also, grid infrastructure is very particular about the plus symbol with the ASM, very serious about plus symbol with the ASM. And this could be due to a bug also, bug 56444-904, wrong ASM key. Okay, what is the remedy for my problem? So what I need to do, what I had to do is stop the ASM across all instances, and I have to repeat the same action across all my nodes. So in that process, from another window, I stopped my ASM instance, which of course still was on 10G, and I had to remove all the dependencies of my ASM instance. And I have to remove ASM entry from my OCR and then add back the ASM instance with plus symbol. And then I have to add back the dependencies to my ASM, startup ASM, resume the failed setup. So in action, what I did was I stopped my ASM and then I had to modify, saying that modify my instance. This second point refers that the point earlier ago is removing the dependency of your ASM instance for that node, local node. So in that sense, I'm going to detach all my RDBMS instances from this depending ASM. After that, I remove my ASM entry. You notice that I don't have a plus symbol in front of my ASM instance. I just remove the entry from my OCR registry. And after that, I have added my ASM with the plus symbol, the fourth point. Make sure this time you provide plus symbol. And later on, I'm going to bring back my dependencies of the RDBMS instances for that node. So I'm going to say, okay, add those instances and don't forget to mention the plus symbol because this is going to be the critical factor. After that, start your ASM. So once you start your ASM, of course, your RDBMS and automatically will be started. And I have to repeat this on all nodes. So if you have any plans, irrespective of any operating system that you are going to do your cluster upgrade, I would like you to refer that file before you do it. Whether you do the upgrade or not, you are going to see this error in that in the log file that I had referred a while ago. So if you see a similar kind of error message, then time to take the action before you proceed with your upgrade. After I resolve my problem, I just say, okay, retry my option, it went well, and my cluster upgrade was successful. Of course, you see Oracle cluster verification utilities failed because some of the prerequisites were failed, so you are not going to have 100% successful. So if you look at this error, don't worry, just say, okay, I'm done, good. Once you are done the upgrade, so at this point in time, we have successfully run our root upgrade.sh across all the nodes without any problem. So we expect our active version and the release version for our cluster matching. So I need to query, okay, CRS-CTL query, CRS active version pointing to 11.202, and then I am checking my release version and make sure your release version and active version matches the same. In case you see a difference between them, that means you have you don't have a successful upgrade. This is the point that I was talking about. And here is a new command. Pre-11G release 2, you have to go to every individual node in order to check the cluster stack health. Now, with 11G release 2, from one node, you can check the cluster stack health of all your nodes. Simply, a new command has been introduced, a new flag, cluster -r. When you check cluster check CRS-CTL check cluster, it's gonna give you the stack status up and running. So if you want to see all your cluster members cluster status, you simply use from one node CRS-CTL check cluster -r. So in this situation, I see all my 3 nodes are up and running. A few checks, post-upgrade checks. I want to check my OCR. So I just execute the command OCR check. You see, if you have experience with Team 202, you probably notice that now we have up to 5, upper limit of 5 OCR files. So this indicates with 11G release 2, you can have up to 5 OCR files. And here is my working disk details. Earlier, you were not able to see this. You will only see the details. Here, you will see the file name and the disk group information. With 11G release 2, remember, you also can keep your working disk on a ASM storage. So, a few more post-upgrade checks for my clusterware. I'm going to check my bin files. You see my binaries being increased in contrast with the pre-11G release 2. There is one important binary which is OHASD, stands for Oracle High Availability Service daemon, and also you see some of the initialization daemons. So these are the a few very quick post-upgrade checks. And also I would like to mention a few points. You can usually resume and downgrade from a failed or successful upgrade. As I said, if you have any problems while you do the upgrade, whether it is pre-root upgrade SH execution like OUI failures, or maybe some problem that you come across when you upgrade, when you run the root.upgrade SH. So you can always presume from the point we start. You can easily fall back to the pre-11G release 2 version. For some reason, you don't like the upgrade, or maybe your application started behaving abnormally and you want to quickly go back. Because of out of place upgrade, they are going to keep 2 versions of cluster here, but at a given time only one version of the cluster is up and running. So this is going to give us a quick chance. With the 3 steps of downgrade, you can bring back your old and existing cluster up and running. You hardly need 3-step procedure to downgrade your cluster. Believe me, I have done, but don't expect everything will go smoothly. You may come across some bugs. So when we do our critical production downgrade, due to the time limitation, we had to roll back after we successfully upgrade, and we fall into another trap of set of bugs, and which took almost like 5 to 6 hours to This also you have to be ready for any situation. It is very easy to remove your existing, the previous old cluster home. Although it is recommended to keep your old home and new home for the period of some time to thoroughly test all your checks. Anyhow, if you decide to remove your old home in order to have free up space, so you can simply use this command. You need to first detach and then remove it from the central inventory, and finally remove from your Oracle base and home. So we are done with the cluster upgrade here, and the second phase is going to be our software installation. Here we are not going to do anything serious. We are just going to have a very straightforward 11G release 2 software installation for the RDBMS. So as I said, we are going to deal in a package like cluster upgrade, having our new software installation RDBMS, then we are going to have our database upgrades. So it's going to be a package upgrade for us. So in that process, now I'm going to show you just very quickly, how to install your RDBMS software. Trust, but don't believe until unless you make sure that everything is ready. So before you do the first installation, software installation, make sure the server's readiness, the members' readiness for 11G release 2. Maybe some packages are missing, maybe some you might need to tweak some parameters in order to cope with the requirements that is needed for this 11G release 2 software. Alright, once you finish, you need to go to the staging area of your 11G release 2 software, and then from the OUI, initiate, run installer. And I don't want to have automatic updates via Oracle support, so I'm not going to choose this option. However, as a cautionary warning message, you see, are you going to bypass this information? I said, yeah, okay, go ahead. Also, I don't want any automatic software updates from my Oracle automatics. Alright, so this is install Oracle database software only. I'm not going to upgrade my databases. As I said, I just need a plain and blank software installation for the RDBMS. Of course, since we already have existing cluster, it's gonna fetch the cluster members. I'm going to list here. Ensure, as I said in the beginning, you need to see all your members of the cluster listed in this. By the way, you can have a subset of nodes that you want to install, or you can go with all the list. However, as part of a complete cluster upgrade, I would strongly recommend you go with all the members of the cluster rather than going with the sets. So this is a simple screen that talks about screen. So choose the type of edition according to the policy, your policy with Oracle. You have a standard edition or enterprise edition as the subject to the licensing. And also I need to enable some of the options, so I use select option, and then I enable partitioning, label security, and also we have a wallet option, and then I use this wallet option. This was my mistake, as when I do my 11G release 2 database upgrades to 11G release 2, so there was a constraint where I had to turn off this option. So in case you are going with these options, I would strongly recommend do not enable this until you finish your database upgrade. Otherwise, you have a workaround. However, my Oracle base is going to remain the same, and my software location now this time is not out of my Oracle base directory. In fact, it is under the Oracle base but into a separate location. You see, U0 app Oracle under which product 11202 and DB1. And choose your OSDB as a primary and secondary group of your Oracle software installer. Use it, and then it kicks off the prerequisite checking. And there are some prerequisites failed. not matched up to the requirement, and these can be easily ignored, as I am sure that these are legacy for me, so I can continue my installation. Unless you see some serious problem, don't proceed further. Please try to fix up and then proceed with your installation. As you see the buttons, there are buttons like check again, where you can reinitiate your prerequisite checks. And you can say, okay, fix and check again. So it's a good option that Oracle provides with the LVG Release 2, where it will generate a script for the failed one to fix those checks, and then you can run again and perform the check again. Unless you have some serious troubles where you need to reboot your nodes. So in case you are sure that these are not going to stop your upgrade process, I recommend, okay, just say ignore all and proceed with installation. So this is the brief information about my installation. Required space, I need around 7 GB, and earlier for the grid and ASM home I was required 6, so you might need 15 GB additional space to your mount point where you have your software. After that, the installation kicks off, and once it reaches to 70–80%, it will ask you to just run a root.sh to set up your Oracle home. So as a root user, you have to follow the instruction, go to individual node, and you can do this root.sh. Again, you run it individually first on the first node, parallelly on all nodes except the last one, and do it on the last node finally. In our case, we had around say nearly 200 databases, and it is going to be a tough ask for us to do all the database upgrade at a given time. So how do I manage my 10G Release 2 databases under my grid infrastructure home? Is it possible? Am I going to face some problem? Of course, if you don't use this workaround that I am going to talk in my next slide, you will definitely have problems with your startup databases. So of course, the answer is yes, you can run pre-11G Release 2 databases under your 11G Release 2. However, you need to ensure all the nodes are pinged with your cluster. So to do that, you don't need to do across all nodes. Just from the first node, as a root user, you're going to ping your nodes. So as a root user, go to the binary location of your grid infrastructure home, run this command crsctl and ping css-n followed by all your node list. So you have to mention all your nodes where you have your 10G databases, and you want to run them for a while, at least until you upgrade your databases to 11G Release 2. So for us, it was like hundreds of databases, and we planned and we scheduled the databases for the upgrade. We had to do this to have a successful up and running. So we have successful so far our cluster upgrade, followed by software installation. We pin so that our databases will run. Now the time comes to upgrade your 10G Release 2 databases to 11G Release 2. Very important for every DBA, as we know the importance of our data. So data protection is very important. Being a sensible and very responsible DBA, our responsibility is to ensure we secure our database before we do any changes to our database or software. So I will remind you here, ensure you have a very valid database backup before you kick off your database upgrade procedure. No backup, you're going to kill yourself. So don't put yourself in a bad position if the database upgrade fails. And since we are going to touch the database, so it is very important you have a very valid backup for your database. Database upgrade can be performed using two methods. You can go with the CLI command line, or maybe you can use DBA, Database Upgrade Assistant. If you have a non-RAG database, maybe manual database give you a bit control. Whereas if you manage RAG databases, I strongly recommend you to use DBA. Why? Because it's going to perform all the steps that are required for you to do manually. For RAG database, we need to we need to do quite a few steps in order to do the upgrade. Like we need to turn off cluster database option. We need to switch off the cluster database option before we start the upgrade. And also there are a few things that we need to change. So I would recommend you to go with DBA unless you have a reason to go with manual upgrade. A very important point before you do your database upgrade, from 11G release to RDBMS home, you run this script utlu 11.2i onto your 10G database. Remember, as of this point, you are still on 10G release to your database, but the script should be run pointing from 11G release to home. So I'm pointing my script from 11G release to home admin directory utl 11.2i SQL. This is very important that you need to run this script, otherwise when you do DBA upgrade, you're going to come across failure saying that the mandatory script has not run. So if you have seen some sort of error message, in case you forget, make sure you run this script again. This is very important. Why? Because we're going to check quite a few important checks, like the existing system undo sysad stem table space, what is required, whether you have an adequate free space to get ahead with your upgrade process. And also, more importantly, from 11G you have this recycle bin. Maybe if your recycle bin is on and you tend to run your application, or maybe the application developers tend to drop and create some tables, it's not going to really drop from the database. It will place in recycle bin unless you turn off or you clean up. So if this script detects a large amount of objects in the recycle bin, it is going to advise you to purge your recycle bin so that your upgrade process will be a bit faster. And I would like to bring to your notice that irrespective of which method you use, manual method or DBA method, it is going to take the same amount of time, because it is going to depend on the number of components that have been configured for the database rather than on the size of your database or the way you do the upgrade method. So there is no difference in the time consumption for your upgrade process. So probably in my experience of our hundreds of databases upgrade, it took somewhere 2 hours, whether we did it from manual or from the DBA. I'm going to show you the script, how you can see how long the upgrade took. Again, so it depends upon the number of database components configured on the database, not on the database size. So maybe 1 tera database might take the same time of 100 GB database size. So what is more important for the upgrade process is the components that have been configured on the database. And do not think that okay, in that situation I will reduce the downtime window by deconfiguring some of the components. It's against the rule. Do not do it, please. And very important, you need to collect the dictionary statistic of your database before you perform. This you need to do to reduce the time that is required. If you do this DBMS stats, it's going to take long period of time for your upgrade. So it's better you collect the database dictionary statistics before you kick off your upgrade. So, and also another important thing that you need to notice, once you run, all the components that I was talking about are in a valid state. If you see any of them are in valid state, you're going to come across a failure of that upgrade, and sometimes maybe your upgrade will fail through the way. So ensure all your components that are configured on your database are valid. For any reason you see something invalid, try to repair before you proceed. So we are ready with our upgrade now. After we run the prerequisite script and we made sure everything is in place and we are all good to go with our upgrade. So from my 11G release to binary IDBMS home location. I just kicked off DBUA from my graphical GUI mode. So ensure your terminal supports GUI, otherwise you need to go with the manual upgrade. So this is another reason that constraint, maybe you don't have Reflection X or some other software that supports the GUI, so then you have left with only manual upgrade option. Once you run your upgrade, it's going to fetch the database instances that are running on the node. So choose the database that you want to upgrade. So from the list, I would say this is going to take a little while because it's going to collect the information. Probably maybe sometimes you see 5 minutes, sometimes maybe more than 5 minutes. And good thing about doing upgrade with 11G release 2 DBUA in comparison with the manual upgrade option, it is going to detect the existing listener. So it has detected your listener is still 10G. So you have an option to upgrade your listener at the same time you do the database upgrade. So it's a good way to upgrade your listener as well at the same time you do the database upgrade. So I want to continue with this. Yeah, yes, press yes. Another thing, what's new in 11G release 2, when you do the database upgrade, anytime you configure a listener, usually in pre-11G release 2, you have to mention the nodes where you want to create your listener. For example, if I'm going to have a RAG database with two instances and two nodes only of my 8 node, so I'm going to choose on which nodes I'm going to place my instances, and my listener will be created only on those 2 nodes. However, with 11G release 2, there is a change in the way when you create a cluster-wide listener, the listener will be created across all the nodes irrespective of the instance where it is running. And this probably is because with 11G release 2, you have 2 types of databases, admin managed and policy managed. So maybe I think from my side, it's because of the policy managed type of the database. This has been changed with 11G release 2. So after that, you see that this informative slide. As I told you that I had an option of wallet option enabled, and this gave me a warning message. I'm sorry, you can't proceed with this option enabled. I had to disable that option. So here is the workaround in case if you have this already enabled. So if you deal with standalone or if you deal with RAG, there is a beta link note that you need to refer in order to turn off the wallet option during the period of database upgrade. I also strongly recommend to use the degree of parallelism. This is required when you recompile your objects at the end of the database upgrade in order to speed up your database upgrade. And also you are dealing with upgrade time zone versions, it's also recommended that you choose the second option. The good thing about doing database upgrade from DBUA is it gives you an option to turn off archive during the period of database upgrade. This is a non-production database, so that's why it was in no archive modes. I did not see that option. In case if you are doing a production database upgrade with DBUA, it's going to give you an option to turn off the archive log generation during the course of upgrade duration. So if you are doing anything production database upgrade, I recommend you to save some time to speed up your database upgrade. I strongly recommend you to turn off your archive log status for that period, and later on it will automatically turn on for you by the DBUA. And then it detects the listeners that are running on this node and will let you know to choose the listener where this instance is going to be attached. So for me, I will choose the instance that is required to attach to this database, and I have selected it. And then proceed next. It gives you the brief information summary, like okay, This is the database. The current version is 10.204, and the target database name is going to be the same, but the version is going to be different. And this is my RDBMS home. So once you are done, okay, everything is summary is fine, just press the finish button. It will take you to the database upgrade process. So here you see it gives you that you are going to upgrade your database from 10.204 to 11.204. So it's going to perform pre-upgrade status followed by upgrading Oracle server and other components. So you see the list of components that are configured and also need to be upgraded. So once it reaches to the 100%, you will automatically DBA remove and start up your database with 11G release 2 servicetl command. So now you have 11G release 2 database. So this is my post-upgrade results summary, where my database has been successfully upgraded from 10.204 to 11.202. So there are no warnings, and you see I have 2 instances up and running automatically. This is the good thing that you get by DBA when you do the upgrade. If you do manual upgrade in a RAG database, these are the instructions that you need to perform manually, where you need some education to do this, like turning off your archive logs, turning off cluster flag in the database, and remove your database entry from the OCR of 10G home, and then manually add it. So that's why I highly recommend, when you deal with your RAG databases, do with the database upgrade utility. So I have just demonstrated you how to upgrade a database using DBA. So here are a few checklists and that you need to do post upgrade. Once you perform your upgrade, ensure there are no invalid objects. You have to run this utlrp SQL to compile any invalid objects. On later on, ensure the components all are valid. No component state is left invalid. For that, you need to run utlu11.2s.sql from your 11G home onto the database. And also, if you are dealing with the different time zones, ensure you adjust it accordingly. And then, right after your database upgrade, collect your statistics for system and fixed objects. And also, if you have any scripts, RMAN scripts, backup scripts, or maybe some other scripts maybe in your profile that pointing to your old RDBMS home, make a change to those scripts pointing to your 11G release to new home. And in order to check your database post-upgrade, you use a servicetl config database followed by database name. It is going to produce most of the useful information where it is configured, what type of database it has configured, admin or managed database or policy-based. Other recommendation, right after your database upgrade, is to perform the backup so that you will not have any issues. And very importantly, irrespective of the method that you choose to upgrade your database, your compatible parameter remains the word. So you have to change it manually, the compatible parameter pointing to the current version. And keep in mind that when you make a change of your compatible database parameter change, there is no way that you can easily roll back. The only option that left is to restore your database. So be careful. You have carefully tested your application with this parameter before you move on with your production. This is, I'm telling you from our experience point of view, we are facing a lot of problems with this compatible parameter in our some of databases. And we have to roll back, by restoring the database in order to overcome this problem. So you make sure you thoroughly check your application test environment before you proceed with your production. This is the script that I talk about, 11s. After you successfully upgrade, run this script. It is going to tell you how long your upgrade has been taken. As I said, the upgrade duration depends upon the number of components configured on the database rather than the database size. So if you look at the upgrade time for my components, it took 1.36. I had a variety of databases range from terabytes to just gigabytes. And believe me, they have taken the same amount of time as it is depending upon just the component size, number of components counts rather than the database size. So even my 1 terabyte database took around 2 hours, whereas my 100 GB database took the same amount of time for the upgrade. So this is the script that you need to see, and it tells you, see, all your components are in a valid stage. In case you see something is invalid. And the bad thing about the DBA, if there is any small problem that has been detected by the DBA, your DB upgrade will fail, will not proceed. The good thing about manual thing is you can rerun your upgrade again. So it's up to you which method you want to choose and go with. These are the points that I want to talk about. I have upgraded over nearly 200 databases. This presentation, these statistics are a bit older. As of now, we have more than 200 databases upgrade, production and non-production. As I said, we have done every try. We did manual upgrade for some failures. As I said, a small detection, failed detection with the DBA going to stop your upgrade with the DBA. So we had to go back to manual and do our upgrades. As I just mentioned, average time to upgrade my database was just about 2 hours. Upgrade using DBA for rack forwards a wise decision because you don't need to do the manual mechanism to tune some of the parameters. So there is no difference between the command line manual or DBA. Duration is typically proportional to the number of installed components rather than directly proportional to the size. So this represents the manual upgrade, how you want to do. So you can have this as a flow chart before you do your manual upgrade. So install the new software, take a complete online backup, run the script, prerequisites, where it's going to check your table space size and ask you to purge your recycle bin and ask you to collect some statistics. And then switch to 11G release 2, and if you are doing manual upgrade, make sure you start your listener with 11G release 2. Start up the database and upgrade more from 11G release 2 home, and your cat upgrade, and then followed by the set of post-upgrade scripts. Okay, what are those aftermath stories that we come across? See, we have just upgraded hundreds of databases, and you might be expecting a lot of interesting stories where we had sleepless nights, we had quarreling with our development team. See, look, you upgrade my database and my application behaving abnormally. So you did this, and all the blame comes to the database. It's been a practice everywhere. Maybe I'm wrong, but that anything goes wrong will be blamed by the database team, and especially if you have done any changes to your existing environment, all the blame is going to come. So we had a variety of situation, sometimes due to the database upgrade and the query was not properly tested, sometimes some bugs that gave us a hard time, sleepless nights. So we were on our toes for the last 6 months. We had a very sleepless nights as well. So I'm going to refer some of those stories. I'm going to share some of those stories with you. If you are on 11G release 2 handling rack database, there is a change with the way you handle snapshot control file. This has to be placed on a shared disk. If you remember, you can keep your snapshot control file, which is the copy that is used by RMAN to synchronize the catalog and the stuff. Now it has to be placed on shared storage. It can be a shared storage or it can be a disk group. So if you have not placed this control file, snapshot control file, your RMAN will see a failure while backing up your automatic control file. So this is a change in 11G release 2. Place your snapshot control file on a shared location. And if you are coming straight from 10G to 11G release 2, not from 11G release 1, and if there are any procedure that calls some of these Oracle packages like UTL, TCP, HTTP, SMTP, mail, you are going to get some errors that you need to explicitly assign the user to grant those privileges. So you must use ACL admin, which is DBMS network ACL admin. So you grant, add, and assign the role. Unless you don't assign the role to an individual user that uses that refers some of those Oracle packages referred above, you are going to have a problem. This is, we are coming from 10.2 to 11G release 2. Even if you are coming from 10.2 to 11.1, you need to do this. Since we came from 10.2 to 11G, it was a new error that we come across, and we had to run this package in order to provide the complete control over these packages to individual user. And there was another bug with this, where my ASM was status was checking timeout. So what's the problem? Is this really stops you? No, it doesn't stop you anything. It doesn't stop you anything. The only problem is when you want to create a disk group or you want to do some changes, then your ASM is like kind of timeout. So you need to increase the timeout checkings, which is mentioned this metallic note. And there was another bug that we come across when we handle the import-export with the blob and XML type databases. The problem was we did successful export, but when we do the import, there were quite a few problems. So we had to call.
Hello everybody, I'm afraid there's something happened to Syed's audio. If you could just bear with us for a moment, please.
I'm sorry about the disturbance since we lost for a while. I think you guys are able to see me, hear my voice, right? Okay. I'm talking about a very interesting scenario that we are dealing with one of our database. For example, for a while, if I turn down this parameter, one query will work, and if I turn off, the other query will not work. So I'm still unable to unlock the mystery, but I'm surviving by switching and swapping these parameters. A very hard lessons learned, very important lesson that we learn right after your upgrade, like cluster and DBMS, apply the latest patch. Let me tell you, one of our critical 8-node production rack environment was seriously having troubles of node eviction every day, almost every day. Almost every day one of the node was doing. And what we have also noticed after the upgrade was a hike in the resource consumption in terms of CPU and memory. So 11G released to a bit resource hunger. And we recently applied PCU patch on all our 4 rack environments. After we apply this patch, PSU, which is 11.2.04, apparently seems to be cooled off now. So I strongly and highly recommend you to go with latest patch. However, now the current release is 11.2.03. You can also go to 11.2.03 as well. no issues. Here are some of the references that I want to talk about. Oracle database upgrades, metallic notes. You can go to some of the stories, and there are good presentations from Oracle about upgrade and the stuff. You can also buy my book where we have a special chapter about Oracle upgrade, cluster upgrade. We have a specific chapter for referring to upgrades. So that comes to end of the presentation. A big thank to Redgate and James for giving me this opportunity, providing me this opportunity to speak, and for you all for listening. Any questions, please?
Hi, thank you very much, Syed. We do have a lot of questions, and I think that the feedback that was coming through the question chat is that everybody has really enjoyed the presentation. So thank you again for being able to present this topic. It was clearly extremely useful and a topic that a lot of people were interested in hearing a bit more about. I'm just going to take control of the screen again, and then I'm going to put some questions to you. So if you just bear with us.
It's good to see that.
Okay, I'm going to leave the contact details on the screen just in case anybody wants to leave a little bit earlier, but we're going to go into the live Q&A session now. There have been a number of questions that have been asked throughout the presentation, so I'm going to go to those questions first, but please do type some questions in as we go along.
Hello?
Hi, Syed. Sorry, I'm just getting the question panel up. Okay, so the first question is from Aaron Harris. Thank you, Aaron. We currently on 10.2 Enterprise. Can we do an in-place upgrade to 11.2 Standard?
From level 2 release 2, especially for upgrade, is only way to do is out-place upgrade. So there is no way you can do it in-place upgrade. In fact, it's very, very good. I would recommend to go with out-place upgrade because it's not going to touch the existing active cluster, so you will have always a chance to roll back to your previous release in a quick flash.
Thank you, Syed. Okay, the next question is from Divyesh Patel. Thank you. Why do we need to run a root upgrade .sh on the last node?
All right, thank you for asking the question. Root upgrade.sh script is the main script basically that sets up and configure your cluster, and it is the responsible for to start the existing cluster and start the cluster. And coming to the point, why I say you have to individually run the root.upgrade.sh on first and last, because it has going to know that this is the last cluster that I'm going to upgrade. So Oracle is going to, if you notice the root.upgrade.sh script, the way it performs during the execution is a bit different than the first and last. The first between nodes, first and last will have the similar information, but on first and last it has to have more information about completeness of the root upgrade sh. So it's going to perform a couple of more steps in comparison with the other nodes.
Thank you, Syed.
Hello, James.
Yeah, thank you, Syed. So let me just get the next question. So if you just bear with me for a moment, please. Okay, so the next question is from Alpa already. Thank you. We have four databases under 10.2.05 cluster. We're planning to upgrade the cluster to 11G-R2 and upgrade 2 of 4 databases to 11G-R2. Can we have 10G and 11G databases under 11G-R2 GL? If so, is there anything special I need to take care of?
If you have attended my presentation, I have clearly mentioned that yes, it is very well possible. I gave you an example of my scenario where we had around 200 databases, and for us it was very difficult to upgrade right after our cluster upgrade. So it is very well possible that you can have pre-11G release 2 database under the umbrella of 11G release 2 Clusterware. However, there is a step that I have mentioned. Maybe you can download or you can write to me offline. I can tell you, you need to pin those nodes to your cluster. So from the first node, you have to use crstctl minus pin command to pin those nodes where your database is running. But it is, of course, possible. You can do that.
Thank you, Syed. The next question is from Philippe Farina. Thank you. Philippe wants to understand why there's 3 IPs regardless of the number of nodes in the rack.
The first one, okay. Now, pre-11G release 2, we need 3 IPs. One is private, one is public, another virtual IP. So private is basically used to transmit the information between the nodes for the heartbeat, and also to when we have more than 2 instances of a rack database, and the data blocks are exchanged across the nodes, across the instances through this heartbeat. So it's a private network, and that has to be dedicated for only the messaging between the nodes, so nobody should be entered. And secondly, we need a public IP because to identify every node. A virtual IP is more important as to do our load balancing and failover things. So the virtual IP is become a component with 10G release 2. It is going to have a very important role when you have a rack database and you want to configure your load balancing and failovers. So it is mandatory from 10G release 2, you have these 3 IP address. With 11G release 2, you need, you need an additional scan IP which should be the same across all nodes.
Great, thank you again, Syed. We have another question from Alpa already. He said there is a note saying we need to apply the latest PSU patch 124.19353 -11.2.0.2.3 GI patch set update to the new grid home on all nodes before running root upgrade.sh when our installer prompts. Did you do that?
If I'm not, I think you are referring about the Linux thing, I guess. Yeah, there was a note I have heard about that you need to ensure that this is applied. I think you are referring to the Linux operating system. Yes, I think you need to do that. But this is my HP UX operating system. I haven't applied that. I had was only 11.2.04 and the grid infrastructure. I had a I don't remember exactly the GI path that I applied, but it was, like I said, when I did the prerequisite checking, it went through, so that means I was on the safe side.
Thank you, Syed. Another question here from Philippe Ferns. In 11.2.0.2, there is a possibility to put your OCR in ASM. Is it supported to have it mixed, 3 in ASM and 2 on raw devices?
I'm not sure because I have not done that one, but what I would see is it really depends how you think, how you are thinking that you want to have the 3 on this and 3 on this. To be frank with you, I have not tested this one. Maybe if you send me an email offline, maybe I can give you some insights about this after doing some testing.
Thank you, Syed. The next question from Mohammed. This is a general question. I think there's been quite a few of these questions throughout the session. There will be a video recording of this webinar available. It will be on the Redgate website, hopefully in a couple of days, but I will send everybody an email to let you know when it is up. Okay, and the next question. This is regarding backup. So an automatic backup locations of the OCR, will they automatically be relocated to new GI home, or do we need to change locations after the upgrade?
No need to change it. It will be done automatically. It's a good point, good question, and it will be done automatically. It will be pointing to the new location automatically.
Thank you.
And also with 11G release 2, you no longer required to back up your working disk, by the way.
Fantastic, thank you. So the next question is regarding OS kernel parameters. Is there, for OS kernel parameters, is an OS restart required?
It depends upon the parameter that you are going to change. There are some dynamic parameter subject to your operating system that can be done dynamically, or maybe sometimes you might need to do it, of course. For example, in my case, we were on 11.23 operating system and required was 11.31. So we had to upgrade our operating system before we go to the cluster upgrade. So during that period, whatever, you may refer the upgrade documentation from Oracle that what are the prerequisites. So you can pass on this information to the operating system administrators before they do the upgrade. So it depends basically, subject to the parameter that you're going to change. Some requires dynamic, some requires maybe a reboot. So it all depends.
Thank you. This is a question regarding listeners. Should all listeners be running from the GI home rather than the Oracle _home on all nodes?
It's always recommended you run from the GI home, ASM.
Thank you. Next question is from Philip Ferns again. Thank you. Does the DBA change the compatibility parameter, or does this have to be done later manually?
Yes, as I mentioned in my few slides before, you need to manually change it. Irrespective of the method you choose to upgrade, manual or DBA, the parameter is going to remain the same. As I said, this parameter has a lot of impact, so Oracle even doesn't do it automatically. So it has to be up to you. Maybe sometimes some of your application may not be supporting the features of 11G release 2 optimizer. So you might to remain on 10G. So for that reason, consider keeping in mind Oracle with DBA doesn't change it automatically. It's up to you. The ball is in your code. So you have to deal with it. So yeah, of course. So you have to do it manually in case you want to change it. As I said, changing the parameter does not take you back. So you have to restore the database in order to go back to the previous compatible parameter.
Thank you, Syed. Of course, there are probably going to be a few of these questions that were asked a little bit earlier on in the presentation, so you may have covered them, but I hope it's okay to just reiterate a couple of the points. The next question is from Alp already. Do we have to stop CRS before GI upgrade and the RDBMS upgrades?
For the cluster should be up and running for 11G release 2. Before 11G release 2, yes, you need to stop the cluster maybe, but with 11G release 2, as I said, it is going to be a rolling upgrade with out of place upgrade unless you reach to the execution time of root update.sh, your existing cluster stack will be up and running. So when you run the root upgrade.sh, it is the root upgrade.sh that's going to take the existing cluster down and bring up the new version of cluster stack up. So during that period of time, the other members of the cluster cluster will be up and running. Even for the local node where you are applying root.sh, until that point in time, your cluster stack will be up and running.
Thank you. The next question is, what happens if after an upgrade some of the components are placed in an invalid status? Do the actions need to be rolled back?
If you are doing with DBA, as I said, even a single mistake, a single problem detected by DBA, your upgrade is going to fail. So you can always reinitiate your upgrade by resolving that problem. So in case after your successful upgrade, you see some reason some components are invalid, there is always some external scripts that you can reconfigure them.
Thank you. We have a general question here. What is the definition of a scan?
I have already mentioned it's a single client access name. For example, like a VIP, for every VIP and every node it has an individual name. Now with scan, it is going to be the same name across all the nodes. So with one node, with one name, you are going to refer your cluster irrespective of number of members. So it's going to be a single name for your cluster irrespective of knowing how many members you have. So this is going to be very useful. You don't need to remember which node and what is the name.
Thank you. The question here, next question is, how do we clear the entries if the root upgrade.sh fails in any node?
Come again?
So this one is, how do we clear the entry?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sorry. How do we clear the entries if root upgrade.sh fails in any node?
You have to refer the Metalink node that I have mentioned. This has given the instruction what to do. So it depends directly related to the message that you see. For what reason the root upgrade sh is failed? Is it failed because some members are down, or maybe you lack of some space, or maybe you lost the permission of your voting or VOCIA? So it is directly proportional to the error message that you see. And once you resolve the problem, you can always rerun root upgrade.sh. It's a good thing about the WinG release tool.
Thank you. So next question, what are the advantages of having single home as GIH instead of separate CRS and ASM home?
It's a good question. We can have two types of home. One is shared home, another is non-shared home. Let me talk about a bit about non-shared home. When we have a non-shared home, that means every individual node has its own file system where the cluster and other software is installed. The only problem that I see with this approach is every node requires the same amount of space. So you are going to have an installation a number of times as the number of nodes. If you have 8 nodes, you are going to have 8 nodes, and anytime you apply any change, you need to apply on 8 nodes. This is one thing. And the good thing about having single node is, for example, if I am going to apply something on individual home, that will be impacted to only that particular node. So the other nodes of my cluster will be up and running. The advantage of having a single shared home is like you are going to save the space. You are going to have a single home shared across all the nodes. But however, the serious problem that I foresee with this approach is, although we save some space and doing the upgrade onto number of nodes, the problem is when you do some maintenance for one home, all your nodes are going to be stopped. So this is going to be a big problem. So you're not going to give a high availability.
Thank you. The next question, have you seen any internal 9i components carried over to 11g R2 database that have caused issues when you don't use EXP or IMP method to transfer data after the upgrade?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sorry. Have you seen any internal 9i components carried over to 11G R2 that have caused issues when you don't use EXP/IMP methods to transfer data after upgrade?
Unfortunately, I don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have anything like that, so I can't comment on this, please.
Okay, thank you. Maybe it's something that that could be Googled, and
yeah, if you can send, I'm sorry, if you can send more details to me offline, maybe I'm in a state to explain him more better and understand what he wants.
yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, this is a question relating to scan IPs. If there is a firewall between database server and application server, would we need to open firewall port only for scan IPs or for VIP?
If the scan IP is configured and your application is pointing to scan IP, then you need only that scan IP address. You don't need other information. Even when you configure your services or TNS, you don't need your VIP because you will have a scan VIP running. However, there are some limitations with scan IP that I see because you will have a single port configured, and sometimes if you have multiple databases and you don't want to have a rush to particular just one port. So it all depends. It has some constraints, limitations, as it is a new feature. So maybe in the coming editions you will see more flexibility with this scan. It's not mandatory that you need to use scan, but it is mandatory before you do installation or upgrade. Scan, by the way.
Thank you. And there is another question on scans, and it's about how does scan map to the node name?
As I said, you need to mention in the DNS file your network. You will have a IP address with the scan name. You will have 3 round robin IPs in the range of and the same subnet of your private and VIP, and all those 3 names will remain with the same name. So you have to mention across all your nodes the name that you mentioned, and this will be given during the installation or configure upgrade time.
Thank you. This question is just referring to something in the presentation, and the attendee would like to know the issue that you mentioned about compatibility parameter after the upgrade. If you could just quickly go over that again, please.
Okay, the question was like the compatibility parameter will be changed automatically when we do the upgrade from DBA, and as I said, this parameter is directly proportional to the way how your application works, so that's why database won't control this parameter. So you need to manually change this compatible parameter right after your upgrade, and you need to test your application. It is fully supporting with the compatible parameter that you are setting. Sometimes some applications might not be going well with the optimizer behavior change with this parameter. So you have to really test this before you proceed and finalize with this parameter.
Thank you. And there's a couple of questions that are quite similar here, so I'm going to try and group them together. This is regarding the stability of 11G release 2. What people would like to know, there's a couple of things. Can people proceed for production after the upgrade, assuming that it is a stable release? And have you had the chance to do any real application testing or load testing before moving from production database to live on 11G R2?
Yeah, this was really interesting, and as I said, before we move on to production, we really need to do the thorough testing with our development or maybe test environments. There is a feature for doing the cluster testing, but upgrade testing you have to do it on your development or maybe some testing environment. This is strongly recommended that you do your test with your non-production environment before you proceed with your production environments. So it's strongly recommended that you do with your non-production first, because you never know. And by the way, you need to get a go ahead signal with the application guys. This application will be supported to 11G or not. That's what I talk about in the beginning about the legacy application.
Thank you. So that's the end of the Q&A session. Thank you so much, everybody, for putting your questions to Syed Jaffar Hussain. I really hope you've enjoyed the presentation. As I mentioned before, a full recording will be available on the Redgate website. Within the section that you signed up for this webinar, you can access all of our past webinars, plus find details about our forthcoming webinars. The next webinar is another 11G webinar, and this is by another Oracle ACE director, Michelle Moucher, who's also a DBA. And this presentation, Security in the Database, will have a bit more of a focus on 11G, so I strongly recommend that you do register for the next webinar. As I mentioned, this webinar will be available online. You'll be able to view a full recording from the Redgate website. I will email details across to everybody that has attended and also to anybody that has registered. So if you've got friends that are registered, they will also receive a copy of the webinar. So I'd just like to finish off by saying thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just going to put the contact us details on the screen again. So if you do have any questions that you're unable to ask today, please either email myself or Syed Jaffar Hussain on the two email addresses there. Please also follow us on Twitter, and you can connect with us on LinkedIn as well. So I'd just like to say thank you again to Syed Jaffar Hussain for doing the presentation today, and thank you to everybody that turned up.
It's been a long presentation, it seems, so we nearly had 2 hours. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Absolutely, Syed. I think the content that you went into, it would have been very difficult to get that over in a shorter time. So I think everybody here, me included, has appreciated the depth that you went into through your explanation. So thank you very much again.
All right, nice to see you, and hope to look forward for the other presentation. Have a good day. Time to sign off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and I hope to speak to you all again soon. Thank you.
Bye.
내가 더 근데